Hi and a warm welcome back to the garden. In this video I'm going to show you how to take Pelargonium cuttings from start to finish. So to start this video I'm going to take you back to a previous clip of how to take the cuttings from a Pelargonium which was growing a little bit out of shape. So for this, a couple of terracotta pots. Now terracotta is the best for Pelargoniums. It is porous and it does mean that the moisture is not being held too long within the plant, because these plants like sharp drainage. So with all the top growth cut away, I've got a lovely mix of gritty compost. Now I do suggest you do add grit or perlite to your compost to make it more free draining, because that is the kind of conditions that Pelargoniums like. They don't want to have stagnant water around the roots. And literally I'm just going to fill 2 of these up. I may possibly need a third, but we'll see. And then let's take the material. So we don't like to waste anything on this channel, in this garden. So what I'm going to be doing is just making some cuttings of this top growth. So potentially within each piece we've got 2 potential cuttings. We've got a potential cutting from the top bit, and if you can see on this one, if I just bend that out a little bit, we've also got a side shoot, which is this one here, and that potentially could be a cutting as well. So I'm just going to see how many I can fit in these 2 pots to begin with. Some trusty rooting powder, because that does aid the process. So firstly, I'm just going to snip away some of the growth, and let's look for, we're looking for a tip basically. So if we just strip some of these leaves off, we can begin to see the stem in better detail. So I'm taking a lot of these leaves off to the point where you're just really left with a bit of a stub at the top. And then what I'm going to do is just chop about there. And the good thing is when you're chopping off the leaves, these are lovely put in hot water, so make a nice Pelargonium tea from these. So I'm going to put these to one side, give them a wash and put them in some hot water for a nice refreshing drink. So that's your cutting that you're looking for, that kind of size. And then with some hormone rooting powder, get your container and just pop that in along the edge, just firming around. And then that little piece as well that I said you can also make a cutting from, I'm just going to trim a little bit of the stem that it was growing from. Remove those lower leaves. Into some hormone rooting powder. And along the side of the pot. And you just want to place them just so where that point of growth is, it's just slightly above where the soil level is. So on this one, let's take away all of those leaves. Put them to one side. And there are some beautifully scented Pelargoniums. I was in the garden centre just at the weekend, and there was a cola scented one. Oh my goodness, the scent, it really did smell like a cola drink. And I was very tempted to buy it, but I knew that I'd be making more plants from this one. So I decided that I'll wait a bit longer, because we do need to have a bit more space. But it was very tempting. And who knows, next time we go, I'll probably end up buying it, because that scent was beautiful. So pop them around the edge, firming them in as you go. So this has many potentials for cuttings. See, that's one there. Got all that stem which we can cut away. And once you start to remove the leaves, you can then begin to see the stem itself, and then you'd be able to know where we're going with the cuts. So with this, we just need to make sure we take off most of the leaves, just leaving just a few to form there, and just cut it if you can find a bit of a leaf node. So I mean, it's very difficult because there's leaf nodes growing all over the stem, so it doesn't matter too much. About that kind of length is more than adequate. Hormone rooting powder, and in it pops. These do root readily, so you generally find that if you do take maybe 10, you're at least going to get perhaps 8, possibly 9. And if you're lucky, you may even get the whole 10 growing. That's quite a small one, that one. So again, remove all these leaves. I'm going to have some lovely tea later on with all these, I can tell you. You're looking at something like that, a little bit bendy. Give it a chop. Go a bit lower on that one actually. Bit of hormone rooting powder. I'm going to put that one right in the centre. See if we can get a maximum amount of cuttings in here. A bit more compost around it. And I think the weather outside has finally decided that it's almost summer. So we're now getting some lovely days, lovely sunshiny days, which is what we all want. So we can get out and enjoy the garden, relax in the garden, do any pottering you need to be doing. But it's so much better when the sun's shining, as opposed to when it's not. It just makes you want to go out. And that pops. And then last one. So I only need one pot actually. So that's the kind of cutting size, a couple of inches, and in we go into that pot. Then moving down, so I can collect all my leaves over that side, and all the debris can go over there. So that is my little pot of Pelargonium cuttings Concolor lace, and I just need to write a label so I can record when the cuttings were taken. So I'll pop that in there amongst them, and we just need a little bit of water. Give it a nice little drink. Allow that water to drain through the bottom. Now the most important thing to mention at this point is normally when you see me do cuttings, you'll see me placing a polythene bag over the top. With pelargoniums, that's not really advisable. You don't want these to rot, and if you put a bag over the top, because of the way these are, because these are quite they love to have the dryness. If you put these in this container with a bag over the top, more than likely these cuttings are going to rot. So what I'm going to do is place these on a window ledge, so back on the window ledge where the parent plant will go. I'll place these on there. It does get a bit of sunshine, but it's not direct, and I will just make sure, just by tapping the top of the surface of the compost, just pushing my finger down a little bit, and just make sure they don't dry out. But because there's so much grit in these, and because we do have a terracotta pot, it does mean that the drainage should be sharp, and we'll get to have all that water that we're watering with coming through the base and not sitting around the roots too much. So in this process I've got 8 potential new Pelargonium plants. If you remember, this doesn't look fantastic at the moment, but I will update you on a further video at some point to show you that these do grow back. And like I've already shown you, this one is exactly the same plant, same variety plant. This was cut back and this has grown, and I'm hoping that with a bit of feed, so the same feed that I've used before on that plant, we'll be able to get some flowers this summer. And in a few weeks time, this can go outside and enjoy the summer in the outdoors. And I'll be bringing these in before the frost comes, before the cold weather comes in the autumn, just to make sure that we don't lose them through any bad weather. And now look at all of these cuttings now looking really, really healthy with lots and lots of top growth. And also, the most important thing is looking at the base and seeing those roots starting to come out of that hole. So we're at the point now where we can be potting these up. So again, I'm going to use terracotta pots, and I'm also going to use a nice mix of gritty compost. So I've just got normal multi-purpose compost with added grit, and that just makes it nice and free draining for these types of plants. So the moment of truth, and that is when you tip the pot upside down and you just see how many have rooted. Now looking at the top growth, it looks like they all have. So let's just have a look. We can just pull that through and out they come. And that's beautiful. Lots and lots of roots. That's perfect. So these were taken at the end of May, and now we're coming to the end of July pretty much, and now look how beautiful they're all looking. And I think, like I said in the previous video, it's pretty much 100% if not 90% success rate with these. They are really, really good at rooting. So all I'm going to do is separate these out and pot them up into their individual containers. So a little bit of compost in the first one, and we'll just have to see if we can prise these apart the best we can. And these just smell absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to separate each one out as best I can, and as you can see, each one has a nice little root system. And I'm just going to put that in the centre of its own individual container. And that is literally a little plant that cost me nothing, because it was just the cost of the original plant originally, and now we have many, many more plants to enjoy. So it's very difficult to try and get these separated without disturbing the roots, but I'll do my best. So into its own fresh container, pop that right down. And in they go. Some of these have grown into really, really bushy, lovely plants, which is absolutely amazing. And if you can remember, this is a pelargonium called Concolor Lace, which has those lovely pinky kind of reddish type of flowers. It's really lovely, and it has these lovely scented leaves. Just beautiful. And it's wonderful because in the process of regenerating that pelargonium, we've been able to propagate it and get many more plants which we can share amongst people we know, which is fantastic. And the last one. So out of 8 cuttings, we have 8 new plants. So that's 100% success rate. So that just shows how easy they are to propagate. So I'll make sure these get a good watering in very soon. And just to show you, the plant that has been regenerated is now looking like this. So remember when we first shown you, it was all flopping over different directions, and now it's growing nice and upright. It's got some lovely shoots, and I'm hoping we might find a flower or two before the end of the season. But even if we don't, we've got lots and lots of cuttings, and we've been able to have a much healthier, bushier plant. So now is a perfect time still to be taking pelargonium cuttings. I know I did this in late spring, but we can do it all the way through the summer up to the end of September really, and we can just be using all the ones that we love, the beautiful different types of pelargoniums, the scented leaves and the other types as well, and make many more plants for free. The ones taken towards the end of summer will just need to be made sure that we put them somewhere warm, because as the weather starts to cool down through to September time, you need to make sure that they're not going to get any kind of frost. And obviously if you're taking the cuttings at around September time, we're going to be having maybe cooler weather, so you need to put them somewhere warm where they can grow roots, so somewhere inside. These were literally put just on one of our window ledges inside, and it's not a very sunny position, so you need somewhere that's a bit semi-shady. Don't put them in full sun because that will just stress them out too much, but somewhere in part shade where there's a bit of warmth, and they will produce some roots within a month or so. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video and appreciated the whole process from start to finish. So this is the end product, these little beautiful tiny plants. Please give me a like, please subscribe as always. The subscribing is absolutely free, and if you do have any comments, please drop them in the comments box below the video. We will see you very soon on the next video. In the meantime, please do take care, happy propagating and happy gardening.